Hi, everybody. My name is James Rash, and I'm a second grade teacher at Homeland Park Primary in Anderson, South Carolina. And today I'm going to be presenting a webinar that is about enhancing student engagement and focus. When I did my TIP self-assessment, I found that Tip 2, Strategies, Resources, and Technologies that Enhance Learning, was my lowest score. There's a few reasons why I think this was my lowest score. One, I feel like a lot of my instruction does not require students to make deep connections. The second reason is I feel like even though I use a lot of technology, it sometimes lacks purpose, and our district requires us to use a lot, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best for our students. I also do not feel like my students are truly active learners throughout my entire lesson because they lose focus or they get off task during it. Overall, I think the main reason that I've struggled with this tip is because this is my second year teaching second grade. I taught fourth grade for 6 years, and with fourth graders, they can sit there longer and listen. They can retain more information. And I kind of need to have a mindset change when I'm teaching the second graders and try to chunk my work more so that the students don't tune me out. When I began researching, I found an article about attention spans that's called Teachers Often Ask Youngsters to Learn in Ways That Exceed Even Adult-Sized Attention Spans. Jill Barshay is the author, and she helped conduct research in kindergarten through fourth grade classrooms to measure student attention spans and find out how long they could focus. They did about 100,000 observations with about 1,100 students over the course of a year. And in the next slide, I'm going to dive deeper into what they found. The research that they conducted found a common number, which was 10 minutes. And that number stood for the amount of time that a teacher could teach on average before students started to tune them out and get off task. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be for everyone, but the majority of the students that lost focus lost it after about 10 minutes. The answer to this problem is not an easy one, but one thing that has stood out to me in the research is we have to, and me especially, have to shorten the amount of time that we expect students to sit and focus on one thing. And one way to fix that is to sort of chunk the lesson, split the lesson into smaller parts. Here you can see the citation of the research-based strategy that I found. So how can I implement this in my classroom? I do guided reading groups and guided math groups every day. However, in math especially, I don't feel like I do a great job of keeping the students that are not meeting with me focused. They're not active learners. They do a station that's on the computer called Dreambox. I do feel like this is an effective station. It's individualized, the students enjoy it, and they're learning on it. But when they're doing the other activities, I don't feel like they're held accountable, and I think that I really need to rethink my stations. The first thing I need to do is to come up with 4 clear, consistent stations. One will be meeting with me. A second one will be on their Chromebooks doing the Dreambox math. After that, I'd like my third one to be an interactive notebook. And what I found from doing research is there's a lot of interactive notebooks that have activities that require cutting and gluing, which will help them keep them engaged and active, and it will also improve fine motor skills while they're focusing on a math skill. And a fourth station can be a review math game. I have done review math games in my room, but one of the problems that I found from the research is I feel like I put things that the students have not mastered into the station games, and then they can get confused and get off task. So I think I need to focus on them mastering a skill before expecting them to do it in the stations. So how can you implement this guided math into your classroom and make it work? One of the hardest things for teachers to do is to change. We get comfortable with how we teach, and it's hard to break those habits. Unfortunately, if we don't change, then we're not going to be as effective in reaching our students. Attention spans continue to drop every year, and we cannot continue to expect students to just sit and listen for extended periods of time. With that being said, change does not have to be difficult. On the next couple of slides, I'm going to provide some specific strategies to help you implement this in your room. The first thing is Teachers Pay Teachers. It's a great resource in finding things that teachers have made that work in their rooms, and you can buy the resources and then implement them in your room. You can use supply money. You can ask your principal or instructional coaches if there's money that's set aside. And a lot of these are bundled, so they have things for the whole year, and you can just completely transform your classroom without having to create millions of new things. So I'm going to scroll through a few of the bundles just to show you. Like there's a second grade guided math bundle here. It's broken into the units. So you have number sense, place value, money, geometry and fractions, time and measurement. And all I typed in was second grade guided math bundle. And I mean, you can just see how many pop up. There's another one that has all kinds of different units. And then it also includes, information guides on how to effectively implement it. So everything's done for you. Another way to put this into action in your own room is by observing it. I love to play golf. If I'm having trouble hitting golf shots, I can go to the Golf Channel and watch professionals hit those same shots and learn from them. This same principle applies to teaching. If teachers are having a hard time visualizing guided math, then they need to see it in action. We can't expect teachers to do something that they've never seen. They need to see it in similar classrooms. And what I mean by that is that similar numbers of students, demographics. I've seen so many lessons where a teacher has 14 kids in their classroom. And so when I think about my classroom of 22 kids, I just can't really relate to it. So if teachers in your school or district are doing it, then that's the best way is to go watch it in action. If they're not, you can always go to YouTube. I typed in second grade guided math lesson, and there's just so many different lessons. There's people talking about ways that they do it, tips and tricks, and you can see how they organize it. So overall, education's changing. We have to kind of get out of our comfort zones to an extent and understand that students are different, standards are different, and people have just changed from the past. We have more of a responsibility than ever to produce these students who can get out of school and join the workforce. It's more competitive, education is more important, and we have to just adapt. It's not always easy, but hopefully with some of the resources that I've shared with you, like Teachers Pay Teachers, YouTube, that show you how to do guided math and provide the resources for you, I'm hoping that I can kind of encourage you to change your mindset to reach these kids that have the smaller attention spans. And my goal for myself is to begin implementing this now, so that I could be a leader and a model for others as I pursue instructional coaching or administration, and help teachers to provide the best instruction possible. But I know it has to start with me, because if I'm not practicing what I preach, then it's not going to be nearly as meaningful. So I appreciate you listening to my webinar. If you have questions, feel free to email me, jamesrash@anderson5.net. Or if you have ideas or strategies yourself that you think I could use, I would love to hear them. Education is about collaborating. The more we know, the more we can do in our own classrooms. So hopefully you learned something, and thanks again for listening.